At this time, we go into our feature, The Big Story. And this is one that has taken the world by storm. Now everybody's talking about it. As top national security officials in the United States in the Trump administration, including the defense secretary, inadvertently shared sensitive information about an upcoming military strike in Yemen via a secure messaging app. The information was shared with a group that included the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, a man named Jeffrey Goldberg. The National Security Council confirmed the authenticity of the text chain, and President Trump initially claimed that he was unaware of the breach, but later appeared to joke about it. Well. This morning we're joined by our regular guest inside of The Big Story, Professor Basil Wilson, retired provost of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City, as our guest at this time. Good morning, Prof. Welcome once again. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning, Richard.
Glad to have you once again, Prof. How have you been?
I have been well.
God is good. We thank you for joining us once again. Prof, I have to ask, let's start with the implications. What would you say are the implications of this security breach for national security and for the Trump administration?
Well, this was a planned attack on the Houthis in Yemen. And all the operational communication was communicated and disclosed to Jeffrey Goldberg, who is not a member of the National Security Council, who is an editor of The Atlantic, which is a highly reputable monthly communication media. It has quite a variety of writers, people like David Frum, who is a well-known conservative writer and worked in the Bush administration. But I think it's a reflection of the inexperience of the National Security Council that Trump has really put together, that they did not recognize that in communications of that kind, you have to make certain that you're in what is called a skip, and that the communications cannot be shared with your adversaries or make your enemies aware as to the military operation that is already underway. That is, in fact, threatening the lives of American military.
What would you say are the potential risks in greater detail and even consequences of sharing this kind of sensitive military information, even inadvertently, Prof, with whether journalists or some unauthorized persons?
Well, one of the things that it does, it would mean that allies of the United States would be reluctant to share intelligence information with the United States, knowing that they cannot be trusted with very valued information of that kind. One of the things about intelligence is that it is transnational, and for example, the people in NATO, the people in the European Union, the people in Britain, the people in who are allies of the United States share this information on a continuous basis, and that becomes terribly important for the national security of the United States. And if the people who are functioning and making the decisions in the National Security Council cannot keep this information confidential, and when they're embarking on a military operation that they cannot maintain and avoid breaches of security, then nobody really trusts them, and that there's a breakdown in the national security, and that jeopardizes America's national security and make the country much more open to terrorists or to vulnerable attacks.
To the best of your knowledge, did this leak negatively impact the U.S. security apparatus?
Well, it hasn't, because Yemen doesn't really have a communication sophisticated apparatus. They're allies with Iran. I don't think Iran was in on the call as such. But it shows you the amateurish nature of that national security people who comprise the administration. that they're not well schooled, that they don't know how to go about these things in a way to make certain that there's not a breach of security. These are just fundamental issues that anybody who is experienced in National Security Council would have taken the necessary measures to make certain that there was not a breach of security.
Mm-hmm. The way the president reacted is also of concern to many because he seemed to sort of joke about it, and this seemed obviously a very serious matter. Were you surprised at the way the president reacted?
I'm wondering who is president. He doesn't seem to know what is going on in terms of the federal government. He doesn't seem to know what is going on in terms of international politics. He was convinced that he could solve the Ukraine-Russia problem on the first day that he took office. That there's no possibility that there's going to be an immediate ceasefire. And the president was very insistent in making the case that Biden was having a cognitive decline. I'm wondering whether the president is at the top of his game.
So you see an incident like this then, Prof, as a reflection on the administration's ability to handle sensitive information? Is that how you view it? How do you view it?
Yes, it is a reflection on the competency of the administration. I mean, one of the things that the American people are in fact worried about is how the Trump administration has gone about in the 60-plus days that they have been governing. They have, in fact, not shown the kind of respect for the Constitution. They have been attacking federal judges, talking about federal judges who have ruled against them should be impeached. They had to be rebuked by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. If you look at the cuts that they've made in parks, in Social Security, in veterans' benefits, in terms of what is coming in terms of Medicaid, that the American people are just terribly upset and angry. And if you look at the kind of demonstrations taking place all over the country, the Trump administration is rapidly losing legitimacy.
So you believe that incidents like these will definitely impact the public's trust in the Trump administration?
Yes, I think people are it is based upon your performance. There's a hell of a difference between campaigning and governing. Governing, you have to deliver. It's not just standing up in front of a platform and exposing platitudes or engaging in propaganda or scapegoating immigrants or what have you. I mean, you place a lot of emphasis on the problem of affordability. There's no question that the country is going through a crisis of affordability. Young people have difficulty purchasing homes, have difficulty living from paycheck to paycheck. If you look at the federal minimum wage, it's $7.25, not a livable wage. And so people are looking for relief in terms of that. And since he has taken office, Trump has not placed any emphasis on, in fact, reducing prices or making the living standards in the United States much more affordable to young people and to working class people.
Mm-hmm. So it brings us now to looking at measures, preventative measures. What are the measures that you believe can be taken to prevent this kind of security breach in the future? And is there a role for the National Security Council to play in ensuring that there's secure handling of sensitive information?
Well, I think one of the things that is going to happen, there certainly is going to be a congressional investigation. I'm certain that investigation will take place in the House of Representatives and in the Senate as to how that breach took place. Now, I don't think any heads will roll. A lot of them who are now comprised of the National Security Council are, in fact, Trump loyalists, and he places heavy emphasis on people who are loyal to him. But there might be some attempt to bring in some more experienced people who will avoid these kinds of faux pas in the future.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. let's see what happens. Before you go, it's an interesting wait here in Jamaica as the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is headed here. Should be an interesting series of meetings, both with the Prime Minister of Jamaica, I believe the newly appointed Prime Minister of Trinidad is also coming over, Mr. Young, and so on. Should be interesting days ahead, Prof.
It should be a very interesting day for Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio has been concerned about the role that Cuban doctors have been playing in the Caribbean. I think one of the things that the world needs is more people and more countries who are in fact engaging in stuff that brings relief to the suffering masses, to the poor. If you look at what USAID was doing in terms of the work that they were doing in reducing the possibility of people suffering from HIV/AIDS, they were feeding the hungry in terms of the civil war in Sudan. And so what we need is more caring, more compassion, more of this kind of work, not to attack people who are in fact engaging in humanitarian efforts and are in fact reducing the kind of suffering that is unnecessary in this industrialized and modern world.
Yes. And just before you go, it's interesting what's going on with Trump and his claim that he wants to take over Canada, so to speak. I don't know if by any chance you've heard talk or any mention whatsoever that Jamaica is also on his list.
I hope not. What we would like to see in Jamaica is, in fact, to see more American investment, have much more free trade to the United States. If we compare the performance of our economy to that of the Dominican Republic, the Dominican Republic is a member of the Central American Free Trade Area. They have, in fact, increased their productivity. They have increased their growth rate. The economy is doing very well. I mean, we need to sort of replicate whatever is going on in the Dominican Republic. And if we could have some kind of free trade area that CARICOM could have with the United States, I think that would be a big boost to CARICOM economies. So I hope Mr. Marco Rubio is coming to talk about maybe what is going on in Haiti and how America can, in fact, improve its logistical support to reducing the infamy of the gangs taking place in Haiti, and talk about those things that can be remedied and improve the situation rather than his obsession with Cuban doctors.
Yes. Thank you so very much. We actually got a little bit more than we had intended from you this morning, Prof. I thank you for your time, and I wish you a great day. Looking forward to our next conversation. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All the best.